He was right on top of that. He guessed it pretty well. He's over here in the corner, and this is the good side. This is just such a smooth backhand. He's well behind the baseline. Gets a tremendous amount of topspin. When you're that far behind the baseline, you really need to lift your racket even higher.
Malavia Washington said that he used to have lapses of concentration, and that he has corrected that problem now. That's wide. You know, he used to say that he'd let his concentration lapse for 2 or 3 games at a time. Or trying to answer your question, I really don't think that what's happened to him having to play so late in the night, that kind of thing, will affect him. This is a very strong character, this young man. He's a terrific guy. He's very together. He's going to give it everything. He may get beat, nevertheless, by a better player.
And that evens it up at 30 all. First game of this second set.
Washington's had a couple of slow starts earlier during the championship. The 2 sets he's lost have been in the first sets, and it seems like, Cliff, you even mentioned he likes to work the point around, and a couple matches I've seen him play, he really waits well into the second set before he starts to be a little bit more aggressive. He pulled up, Washington a couple points ago pulled up, and he's back. Both players are actually struggling with a couple things. Of course, the shin splints from Pete Sampras. Washington pulled up, looked like he may have done a little something, but I'm sure it's nothing serious.
40-30 here, game point for Washington.
Betsy, he plays, as you say, I mean, he's got a very good all-round game, and it does look like he may have hurt himself some. Again, he pulled up there a little bit, but he likes to work his way into the points. I mean, he's not a 1-2 punch and the point's over kind of player like Sampras is. But as I said, he can't let this game slip, because you give Sampras a set and a break, and it's an uphill struggle from there on in. Big point. He is such a good volleyer, Sampras, apart from anything else that he does. And as I told you before, to me, he's just loaded with talent. If he gets his racket on the ball at the net, look out. This was not a bad attempted pass from Mal Washington, but Pete Sampras was there right into the body, but it was hit very hard. Nevertheless, look at him. He's in the air when he makes contact with that ball and still controlled the volley beautifully.
And here's a look at the break points. 1. Washington 1. Sampras has a chance here. And Pete Sampras gets the break very early in the second set. Not a good sign for Malavia Washington. We will be back with game 2 right after this. To Key Biscayne, here is a look at the first set statistics. Well, pretty even with first service percentages. But the big number here is the winners. Look at that. Only 2 for Malavia Washington and 16 for Pete Sampras. A lot of them coming off the forehand side, which he made a lot of unforced errors early on, but it's caught fire. Quite a few volley winners.
Bad news is that Sampras is only 42% first serves. If that changes a lot, that's even worse news for Malavia Washington.
Exactly. He's only lost 2 points on the serve in the last 3 service games.
Malavia's name, incidentally, his father William called him Malavira after an African tribal term. He's got 3 sisters and a brother, all of whom have the same kind of names. One of his sisters, Mashona, the 17-year-old sister, is on the national team, or was on the USTA national team. She's now playing satellite tournaments. He missed that one. And one of the other Washington siblings, and there's a look at the father that I'm talking about. That's Mashona in the blue. That's the 17-year-old sister that I'm talking about. He also has a brother, Mashishka. He's a freshman at Michigan State.
Cliff, his name means the great one, and he said that will be appropriate when I'm #1 on the tour.
And somehow Sampras finds a little time to adjust the cap while he's for the sun in the middle of this overhead. And every time Pete does put on a hat, he's constantly adjusting it. He has some trouble with the brim. He's taken it off a couple of times, put it back on.
30-15 here.
It's amazing the difference in the tempo between yesterday's women's match and the men. The men take so much more time.
Fourth ace.
You're right, and I wish they didn't. Matches in the 60s and 70s at Wimbledon, for example, without the tiebreaker, used to take a lot shorter than matches do today with the tiebreaker. They schedule 1 match less at Wimbledon these days than they used to because of that, and it's because the players take so long between points. Let's take a look at this again. Here is Pete Sampras, and he knows exactly what to do. Now, take a look at this. At this point here, Mal Washington has got a couple of options, doesn't he? He can go straight down the line, which looks like the obvious shot. Instead, this is what he does. He goes cross-court. Sampras picks it, though, and picks off the passing shot for a clean volley winner.
Great guess there by Pete Sampras.
But it was set up by a tremendous fake, too. He faked to his right really well. That was fun to see.
Looked like a little pump fake. Almost.
So serving from Washington, that's a second ace. He doesn't generally serve a lot of aces, but he's got a very solid first serves, generally a very high percentage of first serves.
15 love here, second set.
Just doesn't look like Mal Washington can hurt Pete Sampras. He doesn't have a big weapon to go to. He's got a lot of good weapons, but not a great weapon that would make an opponent scared. Of course, Pete, we know he's got a couple.
just cannot afford to make unforced errors like that. This is not typical of him. It hurts when you play against a guy who has the explosive capability that Sampras does, because sometimes you try to